Hi, good morning and welcome back to my booktube channel. Today I thought I'd do another book chat and chill where I just sort of hang out with you guys and talk about books. I want to talk about some of my favourite fantasy books today. I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to talk about yet, actually. And I also just want to make some iced coffee together and just hang out, you know. Usually I do a face mask when I do book chat and chills, but I've already done my makeup today. So I'm not going to take my entire makeup off. Anyway, let's head on over to my kitchen and make some iced coffee together to start my day and possibly your afternoon or evening. I don't know what time it is where you are, but let's go. Before we get into the rest of the coffee making shenanigans, it's me, Sponsorship Leo, because today's video has been sponsored by our friends of Book of the Month. So thank you so much again to Book of the Month for sponsoring my content and enabling me to keep creating stuff about books on here. So Book of the Month is a very popular and fast growing online book service whose mission it is to help new and emerging authors and help you discover the books that you love. So each month their team goes through all of the books out there and makes a selection of books that you can pick from and read. This way you can spend less time researching and more time reading, which is wonderful because here we're all about reading. Another reason I love working with Book of the Month is because they are risk-free. You can skip any time, any month and not be charged, so you're still safe. A little side note though is that they do not ship outside of the US at the moment. I do have quite some audience in the US, so I still decided to partner up with Book of the Month. Another plus thing though is that they have the best price for new release hardcover fiction. In fact, you can get your first book for only $9.99 if you use the code Leora, which is wonderful. And this month, actually, Book of the Month have 7 books to pick from, so let's go and take a look at those 7 books. So the first one is the Book of Cold Cases by Simone St. James. This should be a perfect read for every true crime fan who think they can get to the bottom of things better than the actual prose, which is, I think, relatable for a lot of true crime fans. Then the next book on the list is The Cartographers by Peng Shepherd. This is a fantasy story about a disgraced map maker whose father turns up dead in the New York library, and she finds a mysterious map near to him and a quest that she could go on. So that sounds very exciting and I love the cover. This is such a stunning design. The next pick is literary fiction called The Verifiers, written by Jane Peck. This story has absolutely something for everybody and it's supposedly very witty as well. So it has family drama, dating app woes, and also something to do with artificial intelligence. So that sounds very interesting. Then we have some literary fiction. This is The Unsinkable Greta James by Jennifer E. Smith. This is about an indie musician who's never really gotten along with her dad. They're kind of estranged, but then they go on a cruise together, but it might not be the bonding experience that she hoped for, so we'll see. The next book sort of reminds me of Dr. Phil, but that's because it's called Dating Dr. Dill by Nisha Sharma, so I mean that might be on me. This is a rom-com which features a love-phobic TV doctor and a love-obsessed homebody, and he's trying to convince her that they are supposed to be together. Another pick this month is The Paris Apartment by Lucy Foley. This would 100% be my pick. I've read some Lucy Foley novels before and I've absolutely adored them. I think this one would be no different. This is set in Paris, one of my favorite locations to read about. It's set in an apartment and it's a locked room mystery and every resident has something to hide. And then last but not least, we have Tell Me Everything, the story of a private investigation by Erika Krause. This is a thrilling, unforgettable look at the life of a private investigator who's trying to uncover evidence for a historic case. So those were all the books for this month that you can pick from. And first time members can sign up with any book they like. You can use code Leora if you head on over to bookofthemonth.com to get your first book for only $9.99. So let's now get back to the rest of the video. Hi, so we've made it to the kitchen. I think the tripod is a bit it's a bit wobbly. I think if I should think of an animal that most represents this tripod that I'm currently using, it would be a baby giraffe, because honestly, its legs are spindly and I do not trust it. So let's just hope it doesn't topple over. Anyway, iced coffee. So I think you all know I got this new coffee machine. I'm in love with the coffee machine. I got it last year during the summer and it's just the best investment I ever made, honestly. Like, I didn't think it would be, but it just makes such good coffee, like compared to like Senseo pads. I'm not sure if you have those outside of the Netherlands. Probably you do. Do you call them Senseo or more like Sensio? I don't know. Tell me if you know. But yeah, it's honestly, I always feel like a barista making my coffees in the morning, which is, I'm not a barista. I would be horrible at it probably, but I do feel like one, which is, you know, it's a good time. And I just got new decaf pads because so the way this coffee machine works, it has this like thing that you put the coffee in, and you just like stamp it and stuff, and I have a ground espresso coffee. Probably all the people that know stuff about coffee are rolling their eyes at me right now, but this is, I'm a noob, okay? This is how I make coffee. So I have decaf because I have anxiety and I have days where I cannot deal with being caffeinated on top of already being anxious naturally, so I don't need the extra caffeine. But I do also have the usual pods and also the normal espresso to put in there. But I recently discovered that you have pods for these machines as well, which is great because I'm lazy. So yeah, we're going with the pod today, and we're going decaf because, well, I've been doing okay recently with my anxiety. To be honest, I've been quite stable for a few years now, mentally. Well, reasonably stable. Let's keep it at that. But yeah, you know, I still have some days where I just feel very anxious and like kind of trembly, and my heart is beating very fast for absolutely no reason. And I worry a lot, and you know, I do talk about it with my therapist that I worry too much, but it still happens. But still, I'm doing reasonably well, and I'm quite proud of myself for doing well. But still, at the same time, even when I'm not doing well, I'm learning more and more to be nice to myself, which I can highly recommend. I think it's like such an obvious thing to be nice to yourself if you're not doing well. But for me, I can be very hard on myself and very tough and like a big perfectionist. So it has really helped me to be more nice to myself. Just making my coffee every day, it's like such a nice ritual, and at the same time, it just, I don't know, it makes me happy that I bought the machine for myself, you know, and now I can enjoy it, and it's a great time. That was my little mental health tangent. I think that's also what I want to do with these videos, you know, that I talk about books, but also about myself and some other random things. And there doesn't have to be a face mask included. There can also be coffee included. But, you know, it was fun while it lasted with the face masks. And I still want to do the live shows of this video concept, but I just like keep pushing that idea off because it's like scary to me because I've never done a live show on my channel. I'm scared no one will come and watch. So yeah, but I should do it. I should just go and do it. So yeah. Anyway, also in other news, whilst the coffee machine is loading, today the weather is really good in the Netherlands. We've had a few days of sunshine, and I immediately felt like it was summer now. I was like, okay, the sun is shining, it's spring, it's summer, the weather is good, I'm going out. I went outside, it's so cold. It's like 10 degrees Celsius. My breath was like coming out in little clouds. It's cold. Don't be fooled by the shoulder. It is actually cold. Don't be fooled by the sunshine. I was fooled by the sunshine personally. I've been duped. Okay, the coffee machine is ready. Whilst I'm filming these, I always feel like I'm doing so much unnecessary babbling. I just hope you guys enjoy the unnecessary babbling. Okay, so my iced coffee was acquired. It tastes quite good. So I'm gonna move over to a more comfy spot to talk about some books with you guys. So for this book challenge here, I just wanted to take the time to talk about some things I've recently read, and also just some of my favorite books that I feel like I haven't really talked about a whole lot on this channel, even though they are some of my favorites. So first, let's start with a book that I really need to reread, and I really badly want to reread this book, but I just keep not getting to it because there's so many books I want to read. But that is The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. This is one of my favorite fantasy sci-fi novels I've ever read, and it was so heartwarming and so much fun. I read this when I was going through a breakup, so I was kind of having a hard time, and I think that's maybe also why I liked it so much, because it was just so entirely different from our world that we live in. It was just like something completely else, you know, and at the same time it was also really like a feel-good sci-fi, which is my favorite genre. And it was also very witty. I really need to read more feel-good sci-fi. If anybody knows any sci-fi that will make me happy and warm inside, tell me. I want to read it right now. So in this book we follow Rosemary Harper, and she's sort of in a pod hurtling through space when the story starts, and she basically joins this crew of all different people and creatures that are sort of making holes in space for other spacecrafts to travel through. I think that's what they do. Like, it's been a long time. Like, I haven't read this book since 2019, so I should really pick it up again. But the thing I just really loved about this book is the way it sort of looks at humanity and how interesting and like sort of peculiar we are as humans, and like our habits and stuff, and how kind of weird they are. I think that's one of the best things that sci-fi can do, is like criticize humanity and have a funny take on humanity. So that is one of the things that I enjoy a lot in sci-fi. So I think that's also why I really like this book. But also some of the queer relationships and some of like the love and tension in this book, and sort of the crew and how much they are like a sort of group of friends. I just really enjoyed that whole vibe. And I actually read this book because I was studying and working in Amsterdam at the time, and I asked this guy at the bookstore at the American Book Center, which is one of my favorite bookstores in Amsterdam. I asked him like, do you know any fantasy that is very witty and has like banter between the characters? Because I just read Six of Crows at the time, and I was really looking for something that also had that sort of banter and like fun good time feeling. And he then recommended me this book, and he said it was one of his favorites, and now it turns out it's one of my favorites as well. So that's just really enjoyable. I have read also the second book in this series, but I really did not like it, and then I never continue with the rest, even though I have heard people say that the novellas and the other books in this series are very nice and are actually quite good. So maybe I should give it another go. But just the second book in this series, I didn't dislike it or anything. It just was so different from this. It was more like plot based. I felt like it was more like there was really stakes and stuff going on, and it's not like there's not any stakes in this book. There's definitely a plot, but I liked that this one was so intricate in also looking at humanity and different cultures, you know, and stuff like that. And I felt like that was kind of missing in the other book. So hence why I didn't like it as much. Another book I finally finished recently is Brilliant, 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 Brilliant by Joel Golby. I've been struggling with this title ever since I started reading this book and talking about it, because it's just so unpractical to say out loud. Like, maybe I should just call it Brilliant ×5 the next time I talk about it, because God. So I think if you like Vice articles, you'll love this book, because Joel Golby is also an author for Vice, and I think you can kind of notice that. This is an essay collection, by the way. There were a few essays in here that I really enjoyed and that I would give 5 stars wholeheartedly, especially the first one, Things You Only Know When Both Your Parents Are Dead. I just think that is so powerful and so witty and so funny and just sharp and really well done. But then there were also some pieces in this book that I just felt like they were so kind of crude and like unnecessarily harsh and sometimes very sexual, and just like, I don't know, it's not that I disliked it, I just felt like maybe it wasn't written for me with certain bits of this book. However, I am very pleased with myself that I did end up finishing it, because I'd been reading it for quite a while, which you might have noticed because it's come up in a few vlogs. There's definitely some essays in here that have been an inspiration to me and that I've really enjoyed, so I'm still happy that I picked this one up. I'm also really curious, do you guys have any reading goals for this year? Because I set my Goodreads goal to 100 books when I started this year. I think I've read 13 books so far, which for me is not a lot. Like, usually I read more. I sort of feel different ways about it. Like, on the one hand, I'm like, okay, so what if you read a little bit less this year, but you feel a lot more relaxed and you enjoy the books that you read more? That's okay, right? But what if you try to read more anyway, because it's nice to read a lot of books, you know? So it's like, I don't know what I want. I want to do both things. I would like to pick up some more audiobooks so I can do more reading when I'm just like doing chores and stuff, because I've been listening to a lot of podcasts instead, which has also been fun, but still, I think it would be nice. But so I ended up changing my Goodreads goal to 50 books because it just felt like a little bit less pressure, and then if I do end up reading more, then that's fine too, you know? So just, I don't know, sometimes it's just so silly how much we pressure ourselves to do certain things. It doesn't really matter in the end, you know? Another favorite fantasy book that has been through a lot, like this copy has been through so many things. I've talked about it in earlier videos as well. But this is My Lady Jane by, God, it's got 3 authors or something. I don't know what the dust jacket is, by the way, I've lost it. It's also been signed, which is cool. I don't know how it got signed, but it's been written by Cynthia Hand, Brody Ashton and Jodie Meadows. And this is one of my favorite fantasy books because it's so silly. It's ridiculously silly. It's basically about a world in which certain people can turn to animals, but then it's also a historical retelling of Jane Grey. So it's sort of like these 3, they do historical retellings of different Janes, basically. And this one is about Jane, who's supposed to get married, and we also follow King Edward. And Jane gets sort of an arranged marriage with a guy who turns into a horse, which is just, it's so silly and ridiculous. And this book doesn't take itself very seriously, but it had me laughing out loud so much. I also really want to read this. Maybe if I get into a reading slump, this would be a perfect book because it's such an easy and fun read. So I should really pick it up again. And then another book I don't think I've ever really talked about a lot on this channel is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. I still only have this Dutch edition, which is hideous. Sorry to say so, but I do not like it. But I did like the Dutch translation. It's called Het Nachtcircus, and I thought the translation was beautiful. I think I read this in 2018, so it's also been a while. This is basically a very beautifully written, sort of woozy story. It's like it's very magical. It's kind of got a slow pace, and everything happening is wonderful and mysterious, you know, but it's not got like very high stakes or a very like going at it plot. It's more sort of a slow, meandering fantasy read, I would say. And it's basically about these two magicians who both are sort of in a battle, but like a low-key battle, because they build like magical circus things, like magical circus experiences basically, and they also have some sort of love dynamic going on, and it's a very beautiful and atmospheric read. If you love atmospheric reads, I would highly recommend this one. It's all of these things. It's a love story, it's a magic story, and it's just wonderful altogether. Before we close up this video, I want to take a little time to talk about some of my other things. So as some of you may know, I'm also an illustrator and I write as well, and I have a web shop where I sell my bookmarks. You might have seen them sometimes in my vlogs, and basically I've been working on my own website that I can, you know, sort of transfer my web shop to, and it's been going well so far. I'm really excited, but it's also always just kind of scary to take these next steps, so I'm definitely a bit nervous about it. I think it's going to be really beautiful, and I think it would also be an exciting step. And I've also been working on a new collection. I'm thinking of doing zodiac sign bookmarks. I'm not sure when that's going to go out, but if you want to know more, you can always watch my vlogs, because I usually show some of my designing in my vlogs. So yeah, those are all very exciting things. As you know, I've also been working on a writing project, but that's currently a bit on the back burner because I want to focus on the website right now. So yeah, there's a lot of things going on, and it's all very exciting. Anyway, I really hope you guys enjoyed this book chat and chill, and you had a good time looking at me talking about some books. Definitely let me know if you have any fantasy favorites you think I would love, and if you don't know what to comment, just leave some fantastical emojis, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Have a good day. Bye!